Have you ever faced rejection? My guest in today's episode knows that feeling all too well. But she didn't let that stop her. After dreaming of becoming a published author for 20 years, she pushed through her setbacks, ignored the naysayers, and kept improving her skills. Now she's not only a published writer, but also a champion of perseverance, helping others stay motivated in their creative journey. With expertise in social media, a passion for photography, and a love for fitness, she brings in a fresh and inspiring perspective. Get ready to learn how to overcome doubt, keep writing, and turn rejection into motivation. Welcome to the Minute Mastery Podcast, a conversational productivity and time management podcast where busy authors and entrepreneurs are inspired to create time for what truly matters. I'm your host, Ngozi Edema. I'm a time management coach, writer, and entrepreneur. Here, you are encouraged to turn your minutes into milestones and to create at least 1 hour a day working on your goals without feeling overwhelmed. Once upon a time, and they lived happily ever after. Children love those phrases. I love them too, and I suspect you may love them too. As a mom, I've spent hours reading and listening to my children read their favorite stories. And now I write stories too. Here is one of them you may want to check out. The Proud Sunflower. It is the story of Princess Sanzu, the Sunflower Princess. A princess loved by all, but who got into trouble. Within the pages of The Proud Sunflower, you encounter what real beauty is. Your kid will love the beautiful story and the powerful illustrations. The Proud Sunflower serves as a gentle reminder that we all need to stand on the shoulders of others in order to succeed. So, read this story with your little ones and allow it to illuminate the universal language of empathy, forgiveness, and personal growth. The Proud Sunflower is a top book on parenting, morals, and responsibility, and it is available in the Kindle store and on paperback formats. Excellent for beginner readers. Click in the link in this episode's show notes or in the description on YouTube to order yours. And check out my other storybooks to read with your kids or gift a child a storybook. You are welcome to the show, Maria.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Maria Jones is a published author, and we're very pleased to have you here today. Your story is similar to a lot of stories about published authors that I've read. Your writing journey spans over 20 years. What kept you going through rejection and setbacks? And how can aspiring authors develop that same resilience? Because, like I said, your case is not an isolated case. I've heard this sort of story, this sort of inspiring stories again and again.
Yes, I think if you want to be a writer, you have to accept that you are going to get rejection. It is a part of the process. And a lot of times you just have to make sure that you don't take it personally, which is a really hard thing not to do because you put your heart and soul into your writing. But a lot of the time, you're being rejected because maybe they have a writer that's similar to you already on their books, or maybe your writer's just not quite ready to be published. And for me, what I've learned is it's not no forever. It's just no with that person at that time. One thing that really helped me, occasionally you can get feedback from an agent or a publisher that you're approaching. And that's like gold dust, really, because if they've taken the time to give you feedback, really take that on board and actually really listen to what they're saying to you, because they really do know their business. And certainly for me, about 2 or 3 times, I was really close to getting a publishing deal, but there was just one thing maybe that they felt wasn't quite right with the book. And it was a case of don't take it to heart, but actually really listen to that. And then, maybe do a bit of a rewrite, whatever it is that's needed, is really key to just keep being open to feedback and open to seeing how else you can improve your writing.
Thank you for bringing that up because not too long ago I had someone because I also coach people to self-publish, and the person said to me, "Oh, I finished writing. I'm just looking for a publisher to publish my book." And I said, "He doesn't work that way." And so a lot of people do not even understand the process and the things that go behind the scene before a book is published by traditional publishers. They don't
Yes.
even know that you don't even go to the publishers directly. You need
Yeah.
an agent that will pitch you with the publishers. And it
Yes.
has to be something that they are looking for. Like you said, it's not something to be taken personally. It's not because your writing is bad. I mean, for all of us, we have room for improvements. No matter
Yes. Yeah.
how great you are, it's always a great thing to look for ways to improve your writing. So I'm not saying that there's any perfect writer out there. There are great writers out there, but every writer has to improve, because if you stay in one spot, writing is something that moves. It's something that improves over time, and the way we have conversation changes every day. I've read books from previous years, maybe a book written like 100 years ago. They are great, but it doesn't suit, many of them don't suit the language that we use in modern times.
Yes.
There are
Yeah.
things that people 100 years ago could say openly, but now the society does not allow us to talk in that way anymore. So writing has changed, and it has continued to change. So as writers, we all need to improve our writing at every step of the way. So when a new, an aspiring author goes out and wants to have their book published and they face rejection, it is not something they should take personal. They should look at it as a call for improvement. So focus on the feedback.
Yes.
Yeah,
Definitely.
focus on the feedback, and work on them, and pitch again, tell somebody again, go elsewhere and find your own community of people who can accept you. So yes, I like that perspective of not taking things personal. So you believe in
Yes.
honing writing skills, which we just talked about briefly. Now, what practical steps can authors take to improve their crafts consistently? Because like I said earlier on, we don't stay in one spot. Things keep moving, so we have to move with things.
I think don't be afraid to go back and maybe change what you've written. So with my book, Those We Trust, it started out very different to how it ended up. And I think if it's not working, don't be afraid to go back and change it. Like, I think nothing is set in stone, certainly if it's before it's published. So like, as I say, like, I think, if it's not flowing, if it doesn't feel quite right, that's a sign that you need to kind of go back and relook at what you've done. I think generally though, writing is very much it's like a muscle that has to be used all the time. So I've really tried to get into the discipline of writing, even if it's only a little bit during the day. So maybe it's like a few pages, maybe it's only a paragraph, but it's the fact that you are consistently sitting there and writing, has been my biggest way of honing my skills. And the more that I do it, sort of day by day, week by week, it becomes a little bit easier. Your writing seems to flow better. That's not to say you can't take a break. Like, obviously if you need a break, take a break, but I've never yet, touch wood, had any writer's block, because I think I'm constantly just keeping myself in that frame of mind of being a writer and not putting pressure on myself that I haven't written 5,000 words that day. Do you know what I mean? Just to kind of just write a little bit, but don't put that pressure on yourself that you've got to, write pages and pages, but just go with but just keep doing it, keep practicing, keep that habit forming. And it's certainly, it is a discipline. It is, because that book is not going to write itself. You do have to say, I'm going to set aside time to do that, if that makes sense.
It does. So just a side question. What do you mind sharing what your routine is like? I mean, besides writing, you do other things as well.
Yes.
You have family, you have a family, you have, which it's hard because we, on this show, we talk about creating time for what matters. And so what is your typical routine like? How do you manage to put your writing as part of your daily routine?
It's not always easy. There is always many distractions out there in the world.
Yes.
I think the reason actually I didn't really solidly start writing till I was till a few years ago, because when my children were young, I just found it impossible. But they're obviously a little bit older now, so they're quite a little bit more self-sufficient. So I work in the mornings. I work in a school, so I do that. That's my mornings. But I've purposely then keep the afternoons free for my writing. So I tend to have a quiet time before they come home from school and college, that I say, set aside, this is my writing time. Occasionally I do it in the evenings as well, but I would say my best time is in the afternoons. And what I see it is like my second job. So, in the mornings I work at school, but in the afternoon, my job, I'm a writer and that's my job. So that's what I do, really.
Yeah. Good. So that means you have a schedule. You schedule it in your
Yes.
because if we leave anything to chance, it's not going to happen.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't happen. So that is what I did years ago. I mean, you talked about your children being self-caring. Now they can take care of themselves. So you don't need to follow them around. So you can help. You can have time to do your writing. I was also in the same shoes years ago when the kids were little. It was almost impossible to fix my writing into it. But at the time, what I didn't know that 50 minutes of writing a day can make a difference too.
Yes.
I didn't have to have a whole 1 hour or 2 hours, which I was thinking, oh, unless I have about an hour or two, I can fix my writing. But if it's 15 minutes of 20 minutes you have in a day and it's consistent, it makes a lot of difference over time.
Yeah, it's that consistency, like you said, that I think that's been crucial for me. Like sometimes, life gets in the way, like in the afternoons, I might need to go do something else, take my child to an appointment. There's always things. And I think the same thing, like even if I've only set aside half an hour, at least I've done something for myself, because I think it's so important to pursue our own dreams and our goals, no matter what age we are. Like I've come into this quite late, really, in a way, but I think it's never too late to pursue that and not feel guilty for putting time aside for doing something that you love, rather than, because I think, I don't know if you find, but as a mom, you tend to always put your needs a bit further down to the family. And I think actually they kind of like, my children are really proud of me for doing what I've done. And I think they do look up to see that actually you have trying to achieve your own dreams as well. And it can hopefully inspire your own children or those around you as well to do that.
That is so true. Yeah. Because they watch you work so hard and achieve something. So of course they're going to be proud of you.
Yes.
Many entrepreneurs and writers struggle with self-doubts. And for me, self-doubt is a time waster because the time you spend doubting yourself, you could have spent doing something for yourself. I consider it one of my top time waster that stalls productivity. So how can they use positive thinking to overcome their fear and push forward?
I think the positive thinking is, the way I see it is, if I just bring joy to someone reading it, even if it's just one or two people, then that's a really positive thing. And I think it's like with anything in life, we're not always going to be really perfect at it. But I think if you've got the passion for something, it overrides any self-doubt that you might have. And, you know, they say with writing, it's like 80% imagination, 20% actually writing it. And I think if you let self-doubt come in, you're going to stifle your creativity. So just take away that just take it out, just like don't let it enter into your thinking. And just enjoy writing or whatever it is that you do, just enjoy that process. And even if nobody ever reads it or only a few people read it, it's been worthwhile doing that. And just have confidence in yourself, confidence in your ability to write, because you're the only person that can actually write that story. And maybe the world is just waiting for that story to come out. So, I think we can be very negative on ourselves. I mean, I do that as well at times. But then you kind of get somebody come to you and say how much they loved reading your book. And it just like, you think, okay, it was worth it. There was a reason why my story was written. So yeah, I would just enjoy that process. Joy being you. You're the only person who can write that story. So hold on to that when you have times of self-doubt.
Thank you. I like that perspective. For me as well, I've been because self-doubt is is something that creeps in. No matter how great you are, we all do have self-doubt at times. But I now focus on the value that I'm bringing
Yes.
more than how I'm feeling. Because once I tell myself, okay, I'm going to bring value to somebody, and it doesn't mean, even if it is one person that gets the value, that's okay.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
okay. And so the moment I start shifting my mind to one of providing value, I notice that things start changing, and it makes me to start working and say, okay, I'm focusing on just one person that I'm going to bring
Yes.
value to. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So
That's great.
social media is a very scary place. When I started, one of the, I was saying in one of my previous episodes that when I started stepping out or into the world to talk about my book, I had to have an accountability partner who helped me move things forward. And one of the things she helped me with was with cyberbullying, because of I was so terrified. Not that there was any real case. I mean, there were people who were mean. Yeah, that's true. But I was always worried. I don't want to be in social media because I don't want people to say something. I don't want people to do something or whatever. So it's a scary place. And there are real challenges when we go into social media, but it's also a great tool, because that is where we meet with our audience most times. Many times our audience are always hanging out in social media. So it's, it's a bit of a love-hate relationship. But your experience in social media, how can authors and entrepreneurs leverage platforms like Instagram, for instance, to build their brand and connect with their audience?
Yeah, I would say actually Instagram is the one place I feel I've had most success with. I think you need to be personable on there. Of course, you're going to put posts on there about your books or whatever you might be doing. And like when I'm doing a book launch, as I did quite recently with my third book, you're building it up and putting like excerpts from the new book, or I have my ARC reviewers who will, you post the reviews, you kind of build the excitement, and it's really important to build that excitement and to then, do a cover reveal. So it's a great place to do all that. It's quite an exciting place to do that. You can do it with reels as well.
Yeah.
But what I have found as well is they actually want to know about you as well. So I do often will post, because I love photography, I will often post photos of where I've been on out on holiday, or like if I've had a really nice hot chocolate or whatever it might be, like, you know, don't be afraid to do that as well. It's, they want to know about you. And it's a nice thing to do then, to share, so that they can see you as a person, not just as a writer. And, so I think that's would be like one of my little tips, is kind of mix it up. Don't just be like, or give them something that they can respond to, like, you know, what's your favorite book, or, you know, that's something in your genre, or, recently I did a competition on there as well to win signed copies, and it was one of the ways of doing it. You entered is you tagging your friends who love books as well, and so you can get a bit of a extra community feel to it as well, like just to kind of bringing people new, because that's what you really would do. You want to kind of, I've still got a lot. I know I'd love to reach a much bigger audience than I am at the moment. It takes time, but it's just getting yourself known out there as well. But yeah, I think social media can be a really nice place to be. Like, you do have to obviously be careful, and I know it can be nasty with some trolls and people like that, but on the whole, everybody, I think, is there because they really want to see what you're doing and they want to engage with you. So it's important just to remember that, really.
Okay. Thank you. So what is one key mistake new authors make when starting out, and how can they avoid it? I mean, we all make mistakes when we are not familiar with something.
I would say, before you approach an agent or publisher, or whichever way you want to go, absolutely make sure that it's been proofread, it's been edited, that your cover letter is probably one of the most crucial things you will ever write. And do research into it. See if you can get samples of how people do it. Don't rush that bit, because if you finished a book, you're really excited. Or another key thing I would say is leave your book completely alone for about 4 or 5, maybe 3 or 4 months, and then come back and read it, because you get word blind and you don't see something really glaringly wrong with it.
Okay.
So take that break, even though you don't want to. Take that break and leave it completely alone, completely forget about it almost. Come back to it with fresh eyes, and you'll be surprised. When you reread it, you're like, I don't think that works. So that is the really bad bit. So I would say that, and I would say do not rush the bit when you're trying to approach, because there is a certain way, there's a certain format, what you need to do to approach somebody. And you need to follow their guidelines as to what they're asking for as well. So usually you do a cover letter, synopsis, first 3 chapters you send. But they might have a different way of doing it. They might not want all of that. So don't just do like a blank email to, same one to everybody. Make sure that you're actually doing it to their requirements. Otherwise you are not going to start out well. So yeah.
That's cool. So make sure you understand what they need, the requirements.
Yes.
And it's different from one agent to the other, or from one publishing house to the other. So
absolutely, yeah.
be aware of the requirements and tailor your letter, your cover letter, which is like, it's you pitching yourself while you are not there. Your letter is the one that's going to tell them everything. So if you miss it at that point, then you miss it. So you have to get it right. Yeah. So if there's one advice you're going to give to someone who has been dreaming of publishing for years, but hasn't taken the leap, what would it be?
I would say just write as if you're writing for yourself and nobody else is reading it, because that completely takes the pressure off you. And just, that it can be really scary to see a blank page.
Yeah.
But just, just have a go at writing that first page and just start the flow going. And don't worry if you maybe don't know completely how it's going to end or the middle bit yet. Like sometimes I don't know. I do plot, but it doesn't always I don't go I'm not a massive plotter. I just start writing. So, I would say that the key for me is the thinking, even if I'm the only person who ever reads this book, I'm just happy doing it just getting it out, just writing it. I think if you've got a passion for it, you're going to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to be it's in you. And as I say, I truly believe that story can only be told by you. So if you've got that story in your head, you're the only one who can write it. So just be brave, just get writing, just get that first draft down. I never read my first draft until I've completely finished it. Just literally start getting the story down, and don't worry about editing, don't worry about proofreading, don't worry about any of that at that point. That would be my advice, really.
Yeah, that's the best advice I gave too. If you worry too much about editing, you can't concentrate on so many things at the same time. So focus on writing first, and then the other stuff just take care of themselves later. Yeah.
It will do, yeah.
So thank you very much. If people, my audience, want to connect with you, how do they reach you, and what do they expect to gain by connecting with you?
Well, the best way, I am on Instagram, so under Marie Jones Writer. I also have a website, and you can join my writing community on there. So you get to hear first about the news. You can always be part of my future ARC teams.
Ooh.
So my website is mariejonesbritishwriter.com. So you can find everything on there that you need to know about me. I am very active on social media. So if you were to message me or comment on any of my Instagram posts or on Facebook, I've got a Facebook page as well, then I can promise you it means a lot to me. And I personally will always be replying to any messages or comments. I love to see it. I love to engage with my readers. So
thank you very much.
And writers. Yeah. And I love encouraging fellow writers. So if ever you're just starting out and you want to contact me, please do.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much for coming to the show. Thanks for tuning in to the Minute Mastery Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with someone who could use more time in their day. And remember to subscribe and leave us a review. Until next time, you are in control of your time, and you've got this.